G'day, race fans. Welcome back to RaceNuts, and welcome to the first episode of what we're going to call the final stretch. This is going to be a series of videos we're going to do throughout the final series, just breaking down what's happening, who's where, what's the point situation for the following race. We're planning to do one of these little videos after every race of Gold Coast, Sandown, and Adelaide, just sort of break down where everyone's at and who has to do what to continue in the finals and who's pretty much out of it. Joining me as always is my co-host Ash Millar. Ash, mate, how are you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
No worries. If we have any issues at the moment, we're currently filming on Wednesday the 22nd. So if you live in Victoria, you are aware that Ash is currently copying 100-mile-an-hour winds.
100 miles.
And his Dodo internet connection is struggling. So we're going to try and work our way through this. But I think, mate, like I said, this is a little bit of a preview episode in terms of we're just going to sit here and we're going to look at who's in our top 10 and where that takes us from here. So I think I'm just going to do a quick rundown of who's here, and then we're going to go back through. So starting in the championship lead, we have Brock Fenny for Triple A Racing, moving down to Matt Payne for Grove Racing, Will Brown for Triple A Racing, Cam Waters for Tickford Racing, Brody Kostecki for Dick Johnson Racing, Chaz Mostert for Walkinshaw Andretti United, Anton De Pasquale for Team 18, Thomas Randall for Tickford, Ryan Wood for Walkinshaw Andretti, and then rounding out the top 10, we have Kai Allen for Grove Racing as well. But before we start moving our back way through, we've got to really start this conversation with 11th, the man that just missed out by fate, and that is the Cam Hill of the number 4 Matt Stone Racing Camaro. Now, Ash, the Cam Hill was very firmly on the edge within the top 10 throughout the last 3 or 4 rounds. Really, yes. His demise here ended on literally the last lap of Bathurst when Brock Feeney overtook him, taking away 3 crucial points that took him out of the finals and allowed Kai Allen to move up to 10th.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a chaotic Bathurst as well. Not to, do a Bathurst review, but that was an insane Bathurst. So that Cameron Hill getting kicked out of the top 10 in such a fashion is not really that surprising. And Ryan Wood having to fight as well for his top 10 position. For a mechanical failure of sorts.
Definitely. We'll definitely discuss that more when we get up to Ryan Wood. But I think it's a bit of a shame to see Cam Hill not in. We've seen that obviously Cam can drive, and he's quite an aggressive driver.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. We saw that with Zach Bates at Queensland Raceway. Which actually I saw something quite funny. I think it might have been from the post-round dump guy. I could be wrong with this, but someone was saying on socials how funny it would be if Zach Bates landed that 4th SCT drive at Brad Jones Racing. This is all before what we know now, the SCT drive going to Triple A.
Yeah, everything being shuffled around.
But I did think that was quite funny. The thing that maybe that Zach Bates' first teammate might be Cameron Hill, the man that pushed him off track at Queensland. So right,
the motorsport community works in fun ways. As always, it really wouldn't be the first time that to be teammates push each other off in their, throughout their careers and through their categories as they grow up.
Well, you almost can put Cam and Chaz on the clock on how often they have contact.
Oh yeah,
I believe it was 2019. They were both in good running positions and took each other out of the chase.
Love it.
So I'm sure.
It's love for the
I'm
game.
I'm sure Andrew Edwards would have loved that.
Yeah, everyone would have, mate.
Right, so let's move up to our first drive of the top 10, Kai Allen. A bit of a surprise here because while he was on the fringes, I really didn't think Kai was gonna make it into the top 10. I think we can really thank that chaotic Bathurst for this, of really taking out a lot of contenders, and that, like I said, that final 3 points off Cam Hill on the last lap from Brock Feeney.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Besides that, not really much to say about Kai. Obviously, this is his rookie year, so he's been very much in the background, shadowing Matt. he's sort of been in the mix, but he hasn't really been that high up. But a bit of no man lands territory. So
Yeah. I do agree, but Penrite Racing, Grove Racing, they do have form, as they've shown with Matt Payne's car and
yeah,
stuff. And as you said, it might be his rookie year, but it actually doesn't matter this year because the finals are new to supercars. It levels the playing field. Sure, there's people above him who are used to the end of season pressure, but this is still new to everyone. So he may very well just pull something out his ass. And he might not. I mean, there are definitely faster guys, more experienced guys on these tracks ahead of him.
To be honest with you, I think like Kai's going to be in our first three. We're going to lose after Gold Coast. Look, he's a fast kid. I believe he's going to be big in the future. But we have seen him crack under pressure before, as in last year during the Super 2 Championship when he was the reigning champion, and he argued after last year that he really won 23 in a year that he shouldn't have won, and lost 24 in a year that he should have won that title. Plus, as you just said, the Grove car definitely has pace, but Kai's got to build that confidence. So he's like I said,
in the car.
Look, nothing would surprise me, just the fact that he's in the top 10. But I'd really be very surprised if we see him at within the flight at Sandown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. He led a pretty good enduro campaign. I wouldn't criticize it too much. Once again, rookie year, a lot of learning,
and with Dale Wood too, a safe operator as a co-driver.
Yeah, a safe pair of hands. A man who drives, I believe it's Porsche that Dale Wood often finds himself in.
Yeah, I think it's the 992 Porsche Crew Cup.
Yeah, that sounds about.
He won a race. I remember that much.
Yeah. And so such an experienced co-driver, he would have learned a lot, and I think Dale will still be in his corner for these last few races.
I believe Garth gives driver coaching to both of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Like I said, Kai's sort of been all year in that no man's land. Like, you don't. Yeah. When I sit back and think about all Kai Allen's highlights in terms of him driving, nothing really comes to mind.
Nothing's popping up, no.
And that's a good and a bad thing. It's, I know he's definitely been in that 15th to 10th range most of the year, with you occasional top 10s. But, okay, so, he hasn't had mad highlights of big overtakes and big qualifyings, but he also hasn't had highlights of big accidents and silly moves.
I was about to say, I feel like a comparable driver to some extent would be Aaron Love. We knew his name a lot because he was always in the wall. So it was always popping up and all that.
That can go the other way because look at Cooper Murray. Cooper Murray definitely has speed and pace. He's failed to make the top 10, but he was, and this is I believe it was Scott Pye saying this on his podcast on the Apex Hunters United, where he was discussing coming up behind Cooper during one of the phases of the race with all our sequence, and he was saying that Cooper was just so dicey to overtake because he was willing to put you into the wall. He was willing to take that risk, and we saw this early in the season where remember that contact with Feeney? I think it was the third race at Sydney where they rotated each other. And I think Cooper's always but again, we're not here to discuss Cooper, so that's Kai Allen in 10, the 10th position for the number 26 Grove Racing Ford. Let's move up to someone you mentioned just before, Ryan Wood in the number 2 Walkinshaw Andretti Mustang. As you alluded,
strong outfit,
strong team, strong driver. Definitely, we've seen him grow this year. Like last year was kind of like Kai Allen, where he definitely had the pace, but I almost felt like he didn't know how to show it. This year, he's found that pace. I believe he's often outdoing Chaz on a couple occasions. We saw him take his maiden race winner and maiden pole at Perth,
New Zealand.
That was Perth, and arguably that should have been two wins because if you remember back to the first race he had his front suspension collapse.
I do not remember that far back, but I also believe you 100% that
So
he's had
again,
that.
this was they had a sensor issue at Bathurst, which took the car out of the car was in general contention to win. The sensor issue put the car in, the engine into a limp mode. It took them I believe actually they stole the sensor off Chaz's wrecked car, to get it going again, and getting him back out, even though it was only I think it was 14, 15 laps down, allowed Ryan to score enough points to stay within the top 10. So
yeah,
we'll move up now to 8th, which is Thomas Randall in the number 55 Castrol Tickford Racing Mustang.
Yep, one of my favourite drivers, absolutely. I'm glad he's made it.
Yeah. Again, I've noticed over the last few rounds he's been always consistent. I think a couple of times he's been driver at risk sitting on the border at 10th. So
yes, I believe that's been a lot of the headline stuff as we were around the mid-year was, will Randall make it? Will Randall not make it? What's it kind of going to look like? Can he pull this Mustang into the top 10 while he's watching Cam Waters not have a great season, but have a season where he's secure in the top 10? So being in the same garage as someone who is so deep into it, I guess, and not really questioning their position in the top 10, that's going to play on Randall's mind a bit, and he's going to think about how he plays it out. But he did have a lot of genuine pace this year, I feel. I think, he was there when the car was right, the track was right for him, and he had plenty of hours in the sim, I take it. I genuinely feel like he was quite so close.
So as much as I like Tom, and we do really enjoy Thomas Randall and everything he does on and off track, I'm going to put him in that category of Kyle Allen where I generally believe he's going to be within the first three to drop out here, because he doesn't, and I know some of this is Tickford's consistency, which has been shocking for a long time, all throughout this year, and we're going to say very similar things in terms of with Cam Waters with his consistency, that this team has this form of being very inconsistent throughout the season. But sometimes it just feels like Cam can't get that extra out of the car that Tom can't get that extra out of the car that Cam can. Now, whether that's experience or raw speed, it's hard to tell. There's quite a few years between these two guys, and Cam now does lead that team.
Absolutely.
But I just don't see him being able to keep the pressure up to the other 10 drivers to keep out of the bottom 3. And
I see where you're coming from.
Like Ryan Wood, I can see him not
pulling it out his ass.
Yeah, I can see him just being consistent enough for getting enough high results, or as you just said, pull something out of his ass to get a race win, or to get a podium that will pull him forward or anyone else and lock him into the next round. But I just don't see that pace in Thomas, unfortunately.
No, I agree. I hope he does. I think it's more of a hope thing for me. But as you kind of scroll up through to the top 7, you see these names sitting here, and not a single one of them are going to flinch.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
During this. And if they do flinch, it's going to be a fucking big one, because this isn't the caliber of driver that makes these mistakes often.
I'm looking at the same list of drivers that you are, and it's hard to look down this list and see who's going to break, who's going to make the mistake. And like in terms of when I rate them in my head off, who's more likely to lock a wheel during qualifying, who's most likely to make an ill-advised dive or qualify poorly, so you're in the mid-pack and then you just get caught up in the usual carnage. And at the top of that list is Thomas Randall with Kai Allen. Those two
just ever so slightly cracking under that pressure.
No, it's not that, like, obviously don't wish any driver ill luck, but it's kind of looking in this first round finals. It's kind of like, well, who's going to join Thomas and Kai? That's kind of how it feels a little bit.
And I couldn't even posing that question. That's something I'm going to think on, because I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah. Right, so we'll move on to our next car, the car in seventh, which is the number 18, Anton De Pasquale, Team 18, Camaro. Now, big, big lot of pressure on Anton. Not just
Yeah,
for this is his new team, not just for the first time that, well, it was first round of the finals, but also for this team just being named the homologation team for GM.
yeah,
They want to impress. They want to show to General Motors and the general public that they are the worthy successor to Triple A as Triple A defects to Ford. So,
yeah,
um, I, I think we'd have to look close in the final to see where he goes because he has been very close, especially the last few rounds when that GM support got on
yeah.
board. It seems like that Team
He,
18 just got a new wave of energy, and they've been very much on it
yeah,
since that announcement. We're sending
yeah.
I believe one or two podiums out of Anton this year. Not
I believe
not
so.
quite the win,
Yeah,
and then we saw him in the top 10 shootout back first in a couple of applications. So,
yeah,
and Anton's probably, oh, I wouldn't put Anton in the same category as Thomas Akai, but maybe he might be in that middle ground only because sometimes I feel like he does crack a little under the pressure. Sometimes I feel like he doesn't quite have that extra
yeah,
pace compared to the cars on this list around him. Like he's definitely got the pace
yeah.
over his teammate David Reynolds to the point that there was even discussions of he might be dropped. But so
Mm,
for Anton to come into this team and show up an experienced operator like David Reynolds shows what he can definitely capable of. And maybe I'm putting too
yeah.
much pressure on Anton where maybe I need to put more pressure on the team. Because as I said, this team's got a new wave of energy, but are they quite at race winning pace yet? Are they quite where we expect a homologation team to be in terms of their performance?
I to reply to those questions, I would say no to the team in that sense. Even Anton himself, just ever so slightly below the bar. Not just because when I think of Anton, I think of his most recent troubles of hitting the wall at Bathurst and what that could have done to his confidence
Mm.
and all that. But I think they're reaching and they aren't falling, but they're just slowly making that progress. As you said, once they got that wave of fresh air and confidence with the homologation, it's just allowed them to go,
Mm.
all right, let's lock in a bit and develop
Yeah.
properly in a better direction than they were
Mm.
developing.
Okay, let's move on to sixth place, which is the 25 Mustang of Cameron Waters for Walkinshaw and Andretti. Not Cameron Waters, sorry. Chaz Mossett of Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Now this has been a tough season for Cam. We kind of for Chaz.
Jazz,
For
lock in, mate.
we kind of alluded to that earlier. He's actually had a chassis change after Darwin. He went back to his old chassis now. The team doesn't admit this was performance. They say, "Oh no, we're going to make that Mustang a Toyota." So we wanted it in good
Mm,
nick to become the spare Toyota for when we build the new Toyotas. But many drivers admitted that sometimes they just want a new chassis. We saw this with Will Davison at Bathurst. He wanted to go back to his old chassis because he just felt better in it. And ironically, we
yeah.
have seen his performances pick up since going back to that old
Ah,
chassis. So maybe there's a little bit in
yeah.
it. Of course, he'll be looking to bounce back a bit after that engine failure at Bathurst. I think Orchestra Andretti as a whole will be looking at those two. That complete engine failure with the car 25 and that sensor failure on car 2 as if that happened, well, as we discussed, if that happened in car 2 at Bathurst and they didn't get that car back out, um that was Ryan Wood's day done. And it could be argued that if Chaz didn't pull enough points over the season, so Chaz was mathematically safe before Bathurst. So everyone 6 and above was mathematically safe.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't within that 300 point cutoff, would he been? Would it have been more of a struggle for him to stay in the finals? And it's Chaz is starting to get a little bit late into his career, and so asking where's his head at, where's his confidence at with that car, and with what he's
Yeah.
doing, is he bouncing too much, trying to lead that team, and trying to figure out what the next stage of his career is going to be.
What's his next 5
Does
years?
he have the age to continue to be one of these front runner drivers, or is he start transitioning into your Will Davison, elder statesman driver, and be there really as a leader of the team more than the car leading the team?
Yeah. I think you're bang on there, but one thing for sure is I think Chaz will always have the people on his side, so thus when he does all the fan interactions and activities and all that kind of stuff, he, a lot of people come up to him, get his autograph, they boost a lot of his confidence. So he's artificially boosted in his confidence, which then would follow through to his driving. Because I know if I had a fan base like his, it would change the way you perceive, because you see people wearing your gear, wearing your shirt, saying "G'day, mate."
I
Feeling
asked
like they can
myself at
talk to you
Bathurst
normally.
during the drink the beer thing, and him drinking the beer has gone more viral than half the stuff that happens in the race, despite how crazy that race was. I just thought, is Chaz the newest generation of Craig Lance? Because as much as
I would say, definitely in his footsteps, not in his shadow, but in his
in
footsteps.
terms of saying he's a fan favorite, he seems to be really popular one. He's got a reputation for doing everything he can for fans, and unlike everyone's passionate, and we always find one person that doesn't like X driver or Y driver. I've not heard anyone say anything particularly bad about Craig Leons, in the same way I have not heard anyone say anything particularly bad or negative about Chaz Mostert.
About Chaz. Yeah, no, correct. And I think he's a hope. I reckon he's still in a driving ability. I think he's still at that. And so he'll... fucking brownouts.
I know. We'll move on the fifth, and this is a driver I'm really excited about. I'm no secret that I'm a big fan of this guy and the big boy energy he brings to the sport. In fifth position, we have the number 38 of Brody Bush Kostecki for Dick Johnson Racing. In the Chevy Power Mustang. Now, Brody's got he's just got that dog in him. And we saw that at Bathurst with have your personal views on parity, if it's real, if it's not real, if it's engine, if it's aero.
Yeah. So, and then starts talking about the aioli in his sandwich.
And starts vlogging his own podcast, the Lucky Dogs podcast. But it shows you that he's willing to put it out on the line. He's as a driver, he's also very aggressive. But he has the speed to back that up. That he's not someone that just makes the widest car possible and is impossible to overtake without taking a huge risk. You've got to have pace to catch him, and then you got to deal with him while holding that pace. And we're coming into tracks that he's very good at. We know he's, especially Gold Coast, he's very good at Gold Coast. He won there last year after his Bathurst 1000 win. Admittedly, with an Erebus and in a Camaro.
But still, he drove that car, you know. Erebus didn't drive that car. He drove that car.
Each car and team has its own different procedures. The same reason why Team 18 off the bat is not as good as Triple 8. But that means so we proved that he can really the Bend proved that he can take those skills he has and transition it from another team to another car in a different spec. Because he was, if you look back 2 years ago to his championship winning year in 2023, he was very strong at the Bend. I believe he won both 2 of the 3 races. I think he lost one on a penalty. I'll have to look back on it. But he's very strong there, and we saw him very strong there again this year on his race pace when he was pounding up with Todd Hazelwood. And the other something that will be
winning that event.
Something that will be helping him with that is the fact that when he came to Erebus, he brought his engineer George Cummins with him.
When he came to
DJR. So he brought his engineer George Cummins from Erebus. He spoke on his podcast, so that was actually kind of coincidental that George was already looking to make that that move already. And it just kind of worked out really well. That when they having
when
DJR was having discussions with him, either one party mentioned, "Oh, I'm speaking to DJR," or they said they were speaking to him, and they were kind of he was very adamant that he wanted him, and that and they've been a good combination. Obviously, Bathurst went under him, 3 Bathurst poles, a championship. And two wins this year, the pre-mentioned win at the Bend and a win in Townsville. So I think you put because you put Brody's aggressive nature with him, as well as the huge
Yeah.
boost of confidence they would have just got from coming off the bend, and that pole. Because
Yeah.
arguably, if they didn't have that alternator issue at Bathurst, he was in a real mix there. And
Yeah.
admittedly, his words, I mean, on our side, he could be completely full of shit, but I can only take him at his word. What he mentioned on his own podcast, Like It All podcast with Will Brown, that he was saying that with his alternator failing, he was having warning lights coming up on his dash, and that's why he went off with the chase twice, because right as he was in the braking zone, he was getting battery fails.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, he was getting all the lights come up, as well as apparently the lockup lights were part of the warning lights, so it's making it hard to tell.
Okay.
When the car was locking
or not?
when the car was having an issue.
Yeah.
And that's the same with the Kai Allen situation where he punched Kai Allen into Hull's corner. His story at least is that right in the braking zone he had all the lights come on. That distracted him enough that by the time he got on the anchors, it was too little too late, and it was heading straight for Kai.
Yeah. And Kai became a hell of a punching bag, which we probably should have mentioned.
He did, but he
didn't
make the finals though.
Yeah, he did make the finals.
But to finish off with Brody here, I'm very excited for him. I think he's going to be a big part to play in these finals, and I think he's proven that if he's slighted by something, he's definitely going to discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now moving on to Cam Waters out of the Tickford Racing Garage. He had a stellar opening crack at it at Sydney at the very start of the year.
3 poles, including that incredible battle with Will and Brock
to
win race 2, I believe it was. Oh
yeah.
No, sorry, race 1. It was race 1, it was the night race.
Yes, I believe you're correct. At Sydney Motorsport Park, everyone just watching Cam clean up like that. Like, the man had the dustpan out. He was just cleaning.
Yeah. But the problem is,
everyone thought it was his year straight up at that time.
But the problem as it is, and as we just mentioned this all with Thomas Randall, is this bloody inconsistency with Tickford makes it so hard to judge. Because he came out of the blocks, and it wasn't just it. Like, obviously he put on a stellar performance, but the second car, the 55, was also fast in Sydney. I believe Randall got a third and a 1-2 at some point as well. So
yes,
the car had pace in Sydney, and then there's kind of been in no man's land ever since. You know, they had a bit of pace around the Grand Prix.
About top 10. That's it.
Like, Cam's definitely been consistently in the top 10 with the odd podium here or there, but it has not been like we have not seen that pace from Sydney return all year.
No, not even in the slightest. Where, as you said, they just come out the blocks one weekend, and just fucking go like that. They mean business.
This is one of the things where it's like, I'm not meaning to throw too much shade at Kyle Allen, because I'm only saying this in comparison to these top 10 drivers.
These other other drivers.
I was kind of playing the point that, like, with the Kyle situation, this might be the case of the driver letting the team down in terms of where the performance the car's got and the performance the driver's got. Nothing against Kai Pili. He's learning. He's a rookie. He's got to build that. He's got to build that speed. Where I feel like this is a reverse situation. Where I feel like this is an area with Cam Waters that this could be an opportunity where the team and the car lets the driver down. Because I've got full confidence that, like with Brody, that Cam can really be going into this guns firing. But
if his Mustang can come with him.
If his Mustang can do it, and a particular issue for Tickford is qualifying. And as I mentioned before, you qualify up the back, you qualify in your 10th to 12th range, you're in amongst mid-pack. None of those guys give a shit you're in the top 10 or trying to fight for the title.
No,
they're racing.
They want their 12th position, and that's it.
If you're in their way, they don't care. So I think that could be a real issue of, if this inconsistency keeps going, it could be a big issue for him. But and I'm going to touch on this a little bit more as we get into the next few drivers here. But Cam Waters is someone that we know is very, very good at Adelaide. So if he can drag that car and the team can push him and meet his expectations to get him to the final four in Adelaide, I think Cam could be definitely a huge dark horse there.
I kind of like I like when you say dark horse for Cam. When I think about his Monster Energy Mustang, it's kind of fitting. But yeah, he's too good of a driver to miss out, and if there's ever gonna be a time where he puts on like a lot of his drivers where he just buckles in and gets the job done and goes and gets his championship, which I would say he is definitely one of the deserving drivers who have put the talent and commitment in and built themselves to be in a position. I'd like to see him win the championship that year. I think it'd be a really good, not like it would be a good story, but it'd be good for him.
It'd be a headache for my model collection. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, it'd be and your bank account. You both fucking dramas.
No, because they
Oh,
can't
they
make
don't-
Monster
they don't
Energy
issue
model
them.
cars at the moment.
Mate, you'd be right. You get out your little paintbrush set and change up just buy one of Thomas's cars. Not to insult Thomas, but it's a Tickford car.
They're doing Cam cars, but they're doing like special 300 ones. It's a thing with Monster Energy. But anyway, we'll move on.
We'll go have a talk with
Yeah,
them.
we'll move on to the first of the other NG branded cars. Here, and that's, of course, in third position, the number 1 of Will Brown for Triple Eight Racing.
Our reigning
champion. Now, a big thing, I've wrote it here in my notes. I know you can see it in your notes because you have a copy of my notes. And I was going to big bold read out poor qualifying. That's been the big story from him all year. Is just poor qualifying. Last year was bad, but not this bad. And he had better. It seemed like he had better race pace.
Last year.
Last year he had better race pace than this year.
Yeah. Because I forgot what the numbers were, but I believe he was always averaging +5 positions at minimum.
Something like that, and I believe
through the race.
Was it last year or was it 20? I'm pretty sure it was last year. He was on the podium for every race.
Yes, he broke records with that. I do remember that. He was smashing it. Loved it.
So,
but that hasn't been the case this year at all, I don't believe.
No, he's been nowhere near it. But like I just said before, if you qualify in the back of the grid, in the mid pack, you're just setting yourself up for disaster because now you got to try and muscle yourself forward, and he probably will have that race pace. The car number 1 had the race pace at Bathurst. We saw the pace it had at the Bend, where it can work its way forward in those longer races. But you're just giving yourself so much more work to do and so much more risk by being poor qualifying. So if he can build that qualifier for these last 2 rounds, I can see him I can see him get into the final 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if he drops out at Sandown purely because of his poor qualifying and then not having the ability to catch up. Because I imagine all these, at least, these top 5 guys, I imagine are going to be top 5 almost every race.
Yeah.
Give or take, top 10.
I'll kind of reference this to put it to what we're saying into, I guess, something you can watch was Clay Richards at Bathurst. He had a poor qualifying in the 86 series and he then got caught up in a massive collision and all that. He's all good and whatnot, but just referring to what a poor qualifying can result in, that's what it can. And as he said, these next tracks we go to, the walls are all close. We've got Gold Coast walls. We've got Sandown walls that really aren't that far away, like turn 4, I believe it is notorious at Sandown. Turn everything at Sandown, you can probably hit a wall just about. And then you've got Adelaide as well. Turn 8, I believe. That's taken out many cars in its time. Yeah, so there's always, room for everyone to be funneled into one spot. And if you're not up the front where you can kind of have a good crack at getting away, given that you don't stole your car or anything like that off the line.
And these
your risk factor is so much higher.
And these aren't races too where I feel like they're long enough that you can box early, get some clean air, and pump a good 10-15 laps in to pull ahead. You might get that for 2 or 3 laps, but not the insane distance we get with these endurance.
Yeah, you start hitting a little bit of traffic or your tyre wear will come into play a lot sooner on these kind of tracks.
To moving on to second place and our newly crowned Bathurst 1000 champion, we have Matt Payne in the. I believe he will be back to the number 19, but after last weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to run the 100 for the rest of the year.
Probably be great for marketing.
Yeah. Of course, with the Grove Racing outfit. Now, Matt Payne's really come to strength over the last 2 years. We did a video about 3 months ago about how he's come up through the ranks and how he's really grown over the last 2 years. So I don't feel
he's made his mistakes and has learned.
Well, that's the thing too. He hasn't made a lot of mistakes. There's not a lot of. I think the only thing I can think of a big mistake from him would have been last year at Bathurst, at the cutting to be the only safety car. But so we won't carry on too much about Matt Payne because we already discussed him so much. But big year for him. He's been very consistent, very up the front, fighting with Will for that second position. And if with Feeney's issues, which we'll get into in a moment, if there's been a regular championship, he would actually be breathing down Feeney's neck. I think the gap would have only been cut down to I think it might have been 120 points, something like that. I'll have to look at what the regular season points are. But he would be, even if this was a regular year, he'd be generally in the hunt to take Brock Feeney off the lead of the championship.
Yeah, in a traditional sense.
And I can again a good young driver, aggressive, but he's learnt enough that he can be very consistent and very wise with where he puts the car.
Mentored by Garth as well. Co-driver.
But a big thing here is, again, he's very, very good at Adelaide. We saw him win his first race there. I believe he got a win there last year as well. No, but he was in the mix there last year. So if he gets to the top 4 to Adelaide, he's definitely a deadly contender in his own right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, he's, as you said, so mature for his age, and I think a big part of Matt Payne's go is he's so focused. That's one thing that really stands out to me, is he really focuses on the job at hand and breaks down a lot of his small details in his mind. Like, you watch him on the broadcast, you can just see that he's looking at data, he's looking at this, and like everyone is, but it's just
they're just so onto it.
As you just said, he's a Kiwi, so he just comes over here to fuck us Aussies up. He just says, "Sit down, boys. I've got this." Especially when the rain turns on, that's when he will get going.
And of course, from the year so far, 4 wins, 1 pole position, and one of those 4 wins have been the Bathurst 1000. Now, finally, our last car in first position, the 888 Racing Brock Feeney Red Bull 888. The 88 of Brock Feeney for 888 Racing. Obviously, Sprint Cup winner. He's got 12 wins, 14 poles to his name. He's had a very, very strong, dominant Sprint Cup. Now, he's had a horrible one in the Enduros. Admittedly, mostly not his fault. Him and Jamie had that pit stop issue that really just took him out of the running at the bend, and then Jamie trying to overdrive the car to make up for that just made things worse. And then, of course, we had, was it him that put in the wall at in the rain? I haven't watched the replay yet.
Yeah, I believe Griffin's bend. And he went under the tires. Is that the one?
You're thinking of Will Brown. I'm pretty sure he was in the wall at the cutting. So that one was his fault, but still, so a horrible Enduro Cup for him, but strong Sprint Cup. He's been strong really all year. I mean, the big question is, can he bring that momentum? Now, can he forget about his problems with Bathurst and the bend and bring that momentum to Gold Coast?
I think he can. Once again, you don't get 12 wins and 14 poles and not be extremely good at what you do in a great car.
But momentum in the sport's such a huge thing, though. So if he can't bring that momentum back, he could be in real issues here.
Yeah, I don't think he'll falter, because if he has got his mindset settled and he's stable in a sense and is not panicky, not frantic about making this his year by stamping on that champion, more than a Sprint Cup champion, which would mean fuck all to him in comparison to the series champion. because there's going to be many different Sprint Cup champions in the coming years, and it's kind of going to get washed up compared to the.
I think we can only talk about Brock so much. Like I said, there's pretty much what we just said just sums up his whole season over there. He's just been dominant. He's been on it, pretty much all the way up to the bend. And even then, bend he was on pole, so it's really Bathurst has been the big sinker for him. But I've said this about a couple drivers already. I'm going to go through them in a second, but again, very strong at Adelaide. Again, he took his maiden win here to 2022. He was the last winner in a Holden Commodore.
Yeah.
Was strong here last year. I believe he won the first races, and then were definitely in a position to win the second race. Only they got tangled, which has Mossad, and that's the same with, like I said, going for the list of who's strong at Adelaide, who are the drivers that are going to be deadly that beat in Adelaide when we get to the final four. We've got Brock Feeney, Matt Payne, Cam Waters, and I'd argue you can throw probably Kostecki in there too. He had pace around there, but those are just there. There's four really strong guys that could make the top four, and where the top four's been hosted is somewhere where they really like to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to do their best at Gold Coast and Sandown to keep bumping themselves into that top four, but as we've said, there's going to be blokes out there. There's another 12, 14 blokes out there who don't give a flying shit about these guys and are running their own race. They don't care if these boys who are teammates didn't make it, they'll obviously be priority when it comes to pit stops and all that. That's it. That's about as far as a favour's going to go.
Well, that's something interesting here because could help. I reckon could more than help because the second car could definitely get involved. But of course, for all these teams here, bar two, both cars are in. So for both cars in, we've got Triple Eight Racing, Grove Racing, Tickford Racing, Walkinshaw and Andretti. But for Team 18 and Dick Johnson, David Reynolds didn't make it. Will Davison was nowhere near it. So these two teams have the added advantage of they can throw things at both cars. They're not giving me the support. They're giving all the support to car A or car B. They can throw both these teams can throw all the support at car 18 and car 38, as well as possibly talk their drivers into being a spoiler car, being a car that
being a tow or
running along to be deliberate traffic, stuff like this. So that could definitely how the sport takes that in the rule sense of things. It might be different in terms of the rule against modifying a race, but. Talking of the points, though, I'm going to quickly with the points here. So the points have now been reset to 3,000. Additional points have been handed out to those drivers in the championship order, plus an extra 25 points for Matt Payne and Brock Feeney being the two cup winners. So I'm not going to go through all the individual points because that would be very fucking boring. But what I will say is, so Brock now leads the championship with 3,175 points, with Matt Payne only just behind him with 3,145. But the gap between Feeney and Kai Allen on 3,021 points is only 154 points. Now, if I don't have the shit in front of me, but for the four races across Sandown and Adelaide, I was looking at these points earlier, a race winner is 150 points.
So you can close that gap.
You can lose that gap real quick, and so that's what I'm finally excited about here. Is we're going to go into Adelaide with whatever four combination that might be, and with the reset points before Adelaide, we're going to be going in with only 50 points between the championship leader and fourth position. Yeah. So it's going to be a real tight contest, and it's going to be really interesting because, like I said, kind of there's two drivers that we touched on earlier, which I don't think are going to go very far in this format. Not wish them any will. I hope they go further than what I expect them, but just looking at their history and where they are at in their careers, I don't see them going much further than Gold Coast. But there's no one on this list that you would go like, oh no, he's won enough. You know, there's no one on this list that if they win the title that you're not going to be disappointed about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all a good set of drivers. Top 10, they've done it well, at least this first season, and they can only improve the final system from here too.
Right, mate,
Right.
we're going to wrap it up here. If you listen this far, thank you. And we will be back with a more in-depth conversation about where everyone's at post race 28, which is the first race of Gold Coast, which is this Saturday, actually. Right,
Beautiful.
see you, mate.
Huh. See you, mate.